Hello, everybody. This is the day we're going to practice for our test on Friday. We're actually going to practice today and tomorrow. So very similar when you have questions on the screen and you can answer them. And then at the end, it'll tell you which ones you got right, which ones you got wrong. You can go back and look at the ones you missed, and then you can correct it and resubmit it again if you like. On this test on Friday, remember, you have to be logged on to a Zoom meeting during your class period. If for some reason you cannot log in during your class period, and you know this ahead of time because of a conflict, you need to let me know ahead of time so I know when to expect you, okay? But you have to be in a Zoom meeting during the test or you lose 10 points. So make sure that you are in the Zoom meeting while you're taking the test. And then once you're in the Zoom, you can minimize it and then go into the assignment and take the test. Other things to know, I want to make sure that those of you that are at home this week and had previously been in class know how to use a Desmos graphing calculator. That's what you're going to be using when you need to graph it and see the table and see the picture, because you don't have a Inspire at home with you. So I want to make sure everyone knows how to do that. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go show you how to do that with that lovely graphing calculator. Let's see, I'm sharing that. Here we go. Okay, so down if you will just open up a new tab. And so I'm going to get rid of this stuff at the top of mine so I don't have to see this. Controls, there we go. So I'm going to open up a tab. When you're taking your test, you can open up a tab at the top. So if you click on the little plus button up there for a new tab, you can search for DESMOS, and you can just put in calculator, Desmos space CALCULATOR, Desmos calculator. So you're doing a search for Desmos calculator. When it pops up, pick on any one of these that says a graphing calculator with Desmos. You could do scientific, but you know we already have a scientific in yours. But here's this, it pops it up. Over here in this little blank is where you put your equation. And maybe it's y equals 2x plus 3, okay? It makes a graph over here. You can see the graph. You can see the y-intercept, and you can put your cursor on it. You can see the x-intercept, and it tells you what the location is right there in the little picture, or the little ordered pair. So that's how you can get into here. Now, you may say, well, that's great. I see the picture if I'm doing an attribute like an x-intercept or a y-intercept, or even if it's a parabola and I'm looking for the vertex. But what if I want to see the table? I'm glad you asked. Look over here. See this little cog that looks like a little wheel? Looks like that setting stuff. If you click on that, you see this little picture that looks like a table? If you click on that, it converts this information to a table. And now I have a little table over here. When x is -2, my y is -1. When x is -1, my y is 1. So you can just go down the table and see that. And that's great as long as those are the x numbers and the y numbers you're looking for. But what if they wanted you to say when x is 5, what is the y number? You can simply go down here and put your cursor at the bottom of this and just type in whatever x number you're wanting, and it pops them with the next number. Maybe you wanted to know -5. You could type in -5 and it will jump you to what the y number is. So these bottom ones will not be in sequence. You'll just have to type in whatever x number you want, and it shows you that. Now, if you want to get rid of this, I think we just go to this reverse back here. This is undoing. So I can undo that. Maybe I just X out of this. So when you're done with the table, you can just X out of that. It comes back here. Your equation is gone, but again, you could type it back in again. If you're doing an exponent, maybe you have y equals, you need to say x squared. Let's just say x squared. Now, to get to squaring it, remember, look at your keyboard. There's a 6 on your keyboard, and it's got that little rooftop symbol. So we want to get to that rooftop symbol, which is Shift 6. So right now, I want to put in a little 2 up there. So because I want to type in y equals x squared. So I'm going to hit Shift and then the 6 key. Oops, maybe I have to hold it. I'm sorry, I'm going to hold Shift and the 6 key together, and it pops it up there, and now I can put the little 2 in, and now it's a parabola. Now, if you want to continue on with the plus, I can hit, I'm going to move it over with the arrow key and then do plus, let's make it +2. +2. And there's my parabola like that. So you can type in that equation, but remember, to get to that exponent, it is Shift 6, and that puts it in that exponent mode up there. So you can type in that little number up there and then hit an arrow key to the right to get it out of that exponent to continue typing on. So that's how you can type that in. So Shift 6 will give you that little rooftop key that gives you an exponent. What if you wanted to type in an exponential? Let's say you got y equals 3, we'll put this parentheses. Well, let's make it 3 raised to the x. So again, Shift 6 gives me in that little x, and I'm going to put the small x in up there. So if the x needs to be the exponent, same thing, put it in the Shift 6 and then type in the x, and that gives you y equals 3 to the x. So this is an exponential equation, okay? Because you may need to be able to graph an exponential and go find a y-intercept, okay? So on the test, if they ask you to graph an equation, you can type that equation here in the Desmos calculator, and you have this lovely picture to look at, and you can also get to the table. Remember how to get to the table, little cog, change it to the little table symbol there, and here are my tables. So when x is 0, the y is 1. When x is 1, the y is 3. When x is 2, the y is 9. Okay, so let me get out of this one and go look at one other thing I wanted to talk about. On the review worksheet today, number 19 is interesting. It's about sequences. The worksheet today has got a variety of different questions on it. This is saying you, when you have a sequence, a sub 3 is 0, that means the third term is 0. A sub 4 is 6, meaning the fourth term is 6. A sub 5 is 12, so the fifth term. So they're giving you the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth term, but they did not give you the first term. They also gave you the seventh one. You can probably see from the pattern that you're adding 6, but they want to know which of these formulas matches that, but they did not give you the first term. Now you could come up here and say, okay, if this is the third term, you can go back a couple and look for that. But none of these formulas down here match our explicit formula just like they are. What they did was they took that D with the parentheses n minus 1, and they distributed that D number to everything inside the parentheses. And then, so basically they just simplified the right-hand side of that explicit formula. So you could do that if you like. Another way to do it is to work them backwards. You could plug in for a sub 3. When n is 3, the answer should be a 0. So I could take each of these equations down here, and where this n is, plug in a 3. So negative 6 times 3 is a negative 18. Negative 18 plus 18 is 0, which is what my third term is. When n is 3, my y is a 0. So since a worked for the first one, I need to check it for the 4. So when n is 4, will I get a 6? So negative 6 times 4 is a negative 24. And if I add a negative 24 and an 18, I do not get a positive 6. I get a negative answer, so A is not the correct one. If I plug in, go start over again, when n is 3, negative 18 times 3, I get a big negative number. And when I add 6, I do not get my 0. So cross that one off the bat. It didn't even work for the first term. So you can take these one at a time and plug them in. So it's a plug and chug over and over if you want to work it this way. When A is 3, I plug it into the C equation. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 minus 18 is indeed my 0. So that did work. And then if you check the 4, 4 times 6 is 24. 24 minus 18 is my positive 6. So you can do plug and chug backwards with these answers sometimes. So I just wanted to point out that technique that you can work them backwards. Number 20, this is an interesting one. This is the recursive formula because it's a sub n and it's a sub n minus 1. If it's geometric, it's normally the formula is a sub n minus 1 times your r number, but they moved the 4 to the beginning, so it's still times 4. It's just that they moved it to the front instead of the back because order doesn't matter when you're multiplying. 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So don't be confused on this. They just moved it to the front. So you're multiplying by 4. So that tells you you're just taking the first term, and 6 is the first term. They all start with the 6. But if you take 6 times 4, you get 24. 24 times 6 is 96. I'm sorry, we're timesing 4. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 times 4 is 96. 96 times 4 is 384. So this is just showing you that you're multiplying times 4. That's the only thing that is visible in the recursive formula is the math that's happening. And this is times 4. So just wanted to point that out on that. Other than that, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew how to use that shift 6 key if you're putting in exponents and how to use that Desmos calculator. So anyway, bye guys. Enjoy the work and the practice today. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop my video. I think I have to get back in here.